The first sound is a heel on bone. A small cry follows. Jamal Price steps across his threshold with a gift bag in his hand and sees his mother on the tile, one arm around her ribs, her glasses crooked. He sees Madison Clark standing over her with a raised foot and a face stiff with rage. He drops the bag. He moves between them in one stride. He lowers himself to the floor and lifts his mother by the shoulders. "Ma, look at me. Breathe." Lorraine nods through tears. Her chest shakes. He eases her against the wall and checks for blood. None, thank God. He pulls a throw pillow under her side. Madison breathes hard. She points her phone and hits record. "Your mother went at me. I defended myself." Her voice is loud for the neighbors. She angles the lens to catch her eye makeup in Jamal's hands. "See how he protects her. See what I deal with." Lorraine's voice is small. I asked her to step back from the stove. "Hot oil." She called me names. Then her breath shortens. She winces and stops. Jamal stands. His face is calm. His jaw is set. "Give me your keys, Madison." She laughs in his face. "This home is mine too. You bought it after we got engaged." He does not raise his voice. "Keys. Now." She tosses them across the marble. The keys skitter and hit the baseboard. She lifts the phone closer to her cheek, lets one tear roll, and frames the shot. He's cold. He lets his mother talk to me like dirt. I feared for my life. She turns to the open front door and makes sure the neighbor can hear. Mrs. Whitaker from across the street looks in, hand on her pearls, eyes wide. Jamal ignores the performance. He calls Darius, his younger brother. "Come now. Mom needs a check." He calls for a ride. He turns off the stove. He lifts his mother to her feet with slow care. He holds her steady while she tests her weight. He speaks low in her ear. "Small steps. I am with you." Madison blocks the hall. "Where are you taking her?" "To the clinic," he says. She tilts her head like this is new. "So you can build a story." "I saw what I saw. You saw nothing." She points the camera at his face and smirks. "Money will not save you from this. The whole city will see who you are." Darius rushes in through the back door. He looks at their mother and goes pale. Together, they help her to the car. Madison follows with the phone out front, whispering into the mic, "Pray for me." She fakes sobs. She keeps the lens tight on her own face. She never films Lorraine. At the urgent care, a nurse listens to Lorraine's lungs and checks for a fracture. The first scan says no break. A bruise blooms across her ribs. The nurse gives ice and a wrap and a talk. Slow breaths. Sleep propped. Come back if pain spikes. She asks one more question in a flat voice. "Do you feel safe at home?" Lorraine looks at Jamal. "With my son, yes." They pay and ride back in silence. Jamal keeps his phone face down. He knows what waits there. He knows the first clip will hit feeds before they turn to the gate. He is right. A 30-second slice slides across the screen with a caption that reads, "Pray for me." The cut uses a close-up of tears and a line about fear. Comments stack fast. Team Madison. Team Jamal. Strangers swing at shadows. A brand partner texts Jamal's manager. We pause until this clears. Lorraine sits on her bed and studies the bruise. "I am fine," she says. She is not. Jamal stands by the window and stares at the lemon tree outside. "This house holds my mother and my name," he says. "I will protect both." Madison has left, but the smell of her perfume sits in the hall. A trail of glitter from a sweater catches the light on the stairs. The whole day feels like a stage scene he did not agree to. He kneels and picks up his mother's glasses. He wipes them with a cloth. He sets them on the nightstand and takes her hand. "Sleep. I have you." He steps into the kitchen and pulls his phone out. The first sponsor. Gone. A second email with subject line, concern. A third text from Madison with a link to a gossip site using stills from her clip. A fourth message from Trevor Hale, her agent. "We should talk." He blocks Trevor. He opens notes and writes 3 lines. Date. Time. Action. He writes what he saw. He writes what he heard. He writes who stood in the doorway. He saves the file and starts a new one for names and numbers. Mrs. Whitaker. Alma, the housekeeper. Darius, a security tech. He calls Alma and says thank you for staying late to clean. He asks how she feels. She says her hand shook so hard she had to sit on the pantry floor. She says she heard the kick. She says she will tell the truth. He walks to the front porch and rings Mrs. Whitaker's bell. The old woman opens with a kind face lined by years in the sun. "Child, is Lorraine all right?" He says the bruise will heal. He asks if her doorbell camera caught anything when Madison left. "Of course," she says. "You built the ramp for my husband. Our door is open." She emails a clip while he stands at her foyer. The file shows Madison framing her own face on the porch, lifting the phone, rehearsing the look, then hitting record and letting one tear drop on cue before she speaks to her audience. Timestamp sits 1 minute after the noise in his kitchen. He thanks her and steps back into his own house with new strength in his spine. He sits at the table where his father once taught him how to balance a checkbook and writes a plan on a yellow pad. Protect. Document. Invite. He circles 3 words. Protect means new door codes and a day guard. No staff member alone until this settles. No unknown guests. Darius sleeps in the guest room for a week. Document means statements from Alma and Mrs. Whitaker. A copy of the doorbell clip saved in 2 places. A note to the urgent care doctor asking for a clean record of the visit. A second opinion for his mother if pain lingers. Invite means a room where truth speaks without a pile-on. He picks the gym at his youth center. He calls Reverend Calvin Brooks to open and close with prayer. He texts Amalia Reyes, a reporter who covers their block with care and never rushes for clicks. He sends short invites to 5 neighbors and 2 elders who know his family's character. He invites Madison too. He writes 1 line. "You're welcome to speak. No recording in the room. We will keep it plain and safe." She replies with a laughing emoji and a link to a new post. She spins her own tale and asks for prayers and brand deals in the same breath. Jamal feels heat rise in his chest and blows it out through his nose. At 3 a.m., he sits in the dark living room with a blanket over his lap and listens to his mother's sleep. He stares at the family photos on the wall and remembers the day he bought the house. He remembers how Madison spun in the foyer and said this was the start of a new world. He remembers Lorraine wiping a spot on the counter and smiling small. He asks himself when he missed the signs. Sunlight slides over the couch at 6. He makes oatmeal for his mother and scrambles eggs. He sets a glass of water in her hands and kisses her hairline. She tells him to sit and eat with her. He does. He dresses in a plain black sweater and jeans and goes to the center early. He lines up metal chairs in a circle and lays down one rule without words. No stage, no mic, no spotlight. He writes the rules on a whiteboard in thick marker. Respect. No recording. Speak short. The room fills. Alma sits near the door. Mrs. Whitaker takes the chair by the window. The Rev stands in the corner with his eyes closed. Amalia tests a small recorder and then puts it away. Darius sits behind his mother. Jamal stands. Madison walks in late with a soft sweater and a string of pearls. She looks smaller than her feet. She sits across from Lorraine and stares at the floor. She places her phone face down on her thigh. Jamal opens his mouth to start and sees the phone light up. The screen shows a live icon. The room agreed to no recording. She hit go anyway. The stream grows in seconds. Hearts pour up the screen. The room feels the pull of a crowd they did not invite. Jamal must either shut it down and feed her story, or let it run and trust the truth he brought into this space. Watch till the end. See who holds the room and who tries to steal it. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggles so you do not miss the turn. Jamal does not lunge. He looks at the Reverend. The Rev meets his eyes and nods. Jamal turns to the circle. His voice is low and even. We set a rule. No recording. One person broke it. We will not let a screen run this room. We will speak plain. We will keep our word. If you want to leave, you are free. No one leaves. Madison keeps the phone up at chest level. Her face shifts into a practiced tremble. The stream count climbs. Comments fly. Pray for her. Run, girl. He's rich, he's cold. The room ignores the river of noise. Amalia sits with a notebook on her knee. She will publish words after she checks every fact, but now she listens. The Rev opens with a short prayer for truth without rage. He sits. He says nothing else. Jamal starts with time and place. Yesterday at 2:19, I walked into my kitchen and saw my mother on the tile. I saw my fiancée with a raised heel. I pull my mother away. We went to urgent care. The skin showed no break. I changed the door code. I invited you here. He stops there. He looks at Alma. She nods and speaks without shaking now. I heard Ms. Madison yell. She said the ring cost more than the stove. Ms. Lorraine asked her to step away from the oil. A foot kicked. I hid in the pantry and cried. Mrs. Whitaker clears her throat and opens a laptop. My door camera caught Ms. Madison on your porch. She set up her face and her phone and made a story. She turns the screen. The room watches the piece. 1 minute. No sound at first. Then a line to followers. Pray for me. The stream watches too. Heart slow. New comments ask for context. The first crack appears in Madison's wall. Madison drops one tear for the phone. You edited that, she says. He is rich. He has a team. I am a retired librarian, Mrs. Whitaker says. I bake you cookies when you moved in. Amalia asked for the urgent care discharge note. Jamal hands a copy across the circle. Rib contusion, she reads. No fracture. Rest. Madison shifts. She grabbed me first, she says. She hates me because I did not grow up in church like you. Lorraine lifts her chin. Her face is tired and open. I asked you to sit and breathe. You raise your foot instead. Madison's gaze moves to the phone lens. See, she says to the stream. This is a setup to make me look crazy. Amalia closes her notebook. I came to listen, she says. I will not publish the live clip. This room set a rule. I will keep it. She looks at Madison. I will write what people said. I will include your words. Do you want to add anything else besides hurt? Madison stares at her hands. Her shoulders drop for 1 second. The mask slips. A flash of fear. It passes. The phone climbs again. She sees the number and lifts her chin. Darius stands without permission. Turn the phone off, he says. My mother's pain is not your prop. Jamal puts a hand on his brother's arm. We will not be baited, he says. He turns to Madison. You are free to go. Madison's mouth tightens. She looks around the room, sees no camera but hers, no fuel for the story, no crowd that will clap. She flips the phone and points it at Jamal. He thinks money makes him right, she says. Jamal breathes in. Money does not decide what we saw. He pulls his own phone and opens voice memos. He plays a file recorded by accident when he put his phone on the kitchen desk to grab a towel. The audio is fuzzy, but it carries voices. Madison, say one more word about my ring. A thud. Lorraine's breath. Please. Calm. A scrape. Silence. The room hears the kick without seeing it. The stream hears it too. Comments slow, then shift. People ask why a woman would kick an elder. Others defend her again. The room stays with facts. Madison's eyes flash. I tapped her with my shoe, she says. She blocked my way. The Rev asks her a gentle question. Do you regret the kick? Madison blinks hard. I regret letting her make me feel small, she says. Lorraine speaks clear. You regret getting caught, she says. Jamal looks to the whiteboard. Respect. No recording. Speak short. He thanks each person for their words. He calls the meeting to a close. He walks his mother to the car with Darius. He turns to Madison before he leaves. I will have your things boxed by Friday, he says. A driver will deliver them. We are done. She laughs without humor. You think this ends in a gym, she says. You think your clean little circle can touch my reach. I have a book deal now. He looks at the phone. He looks at the ring on her hand. He sees the shape of a story built on pain. He shakes his head. I wish you healing, he says. Far from here. Back home, he walks the lemon tree again. He opens his laptop and writes to his team. He cancels one launch party. He moves a staff event to a public space. He writes a draft of a policy. No partner at private homes without consent from family. No exceptions. He writes to his lawyer. No press. No suit. Document and stand firm. He calls a counselor for his mother. He calls a counselor for the housekeeper. He signs both checks. At night, he sits by Lorraine's bed. She watches an old comedy and laughs, once at a line she has heard a dozen times. The bruise blooms dark and ugly, but the light on her face is gentle. He kisses her temple and says goodnight. In the morning, a letter arrives in a thick envelope from Trevor Hale, Madison's agent. Demand for settlement, it reads. It lists a large sum for silence about private matters. It threatens a memoir full of lies. Jamal reads the lines and feels a calm settle in his bones. He knows what he will do and what he will not do. He takes a pen, signs one word on the demand, and slides the envelope back across his desk to his lawyer. The word is no. He walks out to the kitchen, squeezes lemons with his mother, and tells her he has a plan that does not use courts or headlines. Keep watching. The next move is not revenge. The next move is change. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggles to see how a son turns harm into a plan that protects more than one house. Alma speaks to her cousin over tea. I froze in that pantry, she says. But I told the truth when it mattered. He paid for my sessions. My hand stopped shaking at night now. Mrs. Whitaker tells her bridge group, that boy built my husband's ramp in a week with his own crew. People show you their heart in quiet ways. Cameras lie. A ramp does not. Rev Brooks preaches a short sermon. No names. One line lands. Love without respect is a storm in a home. Amalia writes her piece. The headline does not bark. It reads, a bruise, a room, and 5 rules for truth. She lists time, place, witness, record, repair. She never mentions net worth. She quotes Lorraine. I asked for space. A foot came instead. The comments under her piece are quieter than the feeds. People tell stories about mothers and kitchens and lines that should not be crossed. Darius talks to Jamal on the porch late at night. I wanted to swing, he says. I wanted to break her phone in half. Jamal puts a hand on his shoulder. You kept your hands open, he says. That is strength. A sponsor who paused calls Jamal's manager. We watched the room, she says. We saw how he handled this. We believe in that kind of leadership. The deal still waits, but the tone shifts. Trevor Hale sends 2 more letters. No one answers. He calls and leaves a message full of heat. He writes a tweet with a half-truth. No one bites. He moves on. Madison records a long video on a white couch. She never says the kick. She never says the bruise. She talks about how hard it is to be judged. She signs off with a swipe-up code for a face cream. Her followers drop by half over a month. Some stay and beg her to heal. Some leave and say nothing. Lorraine sits with her book club and tells them she will step back from hosting for a month while the bruise fades. They bring soup and flowers. They tell stories about sons and boundaries. They laugh at old men on television who do not know when to hush. Jamal meets with his staff in a small conference room with a pot of coffee and a plate of fruit. He speaks for 5 minutes. Private homes are sacred, he says. No partner at a staff event without family consent. No exceptions. If you live with an elder and need help, we will pay for 10 counseling sessions. If your home feels unsafe, tell us. We will pay for temporary housing while you sort it. He signs the policy. He posts it on the wall. He calls Safe Homes a small local group that helps families build plans when violence starts to creep in. He writes a check. He calls Caroline a hotline for elder abuse. He writes another check. He calls a contractor and pays for 3 ramps on his block. The gym at the center fills again a week later, but this time the chairs face a whiteboard for a class. Title reads, House Rules. Jamal teaches the first session with Rev Brooks and a social worker named April. They cover how to set a boundary in a sentence, how to document harm with dates and times, how to build a safety plan for a parent, how to leave a situation without a shout. Teens listen. Mothers nod. A father cries once and wipes his eyes with the back of his hand. Near the end of the class, a woman stands and says, My fiancé throws words at my mother when I am at work. He rolls his eyes and slams doors. She presses her lips tight. I thought I had to choose. Rev Brooks says, You choose safety and respect. The rest will follow. Jamal adds, You pick a room where your people are seen. You pick a plan. You do not pick fear. The class ends with a small meal. People eat and talk. Jamal washes dishes with Lorraine at the sink. She moves slower, but she laughs again. He bumps her shoulder with his and makes a face she has known since he was 5. At home, a last letter from Trevor arrives. It is smaller. It offers to stop posting if Jamal writes a check for a fraction of the first demand. Jamal slides it into a drawer and closes it. He does not feed that fire. That night, Madison posts a short clip with a caption about growth. She hints at a retreat. She asks for grace. Comments ask for real accountability. She does not answer. Jamal walks the lemon tree again under the porch light. He picks one fruit and rolls it in his palm. He breathes deep and tastes the tart on his tongue. He looks up at the sky and prays 3 words without moving his lips. "Thank you, Lord." A staffer runs out with a phone in hand and wide eyes. "Boss, you need to see this," he says. The airline in town has announced a new fund for elder care at home. The headline uses a phrase from Jamal's talk word for word. No credit. No call. A bright face smiles on camera and sells his work without his name. Keep watching. The last part shows how to claim your labor without bitterness. Subscribe to Echoes of Black Struggles. See how this ends with honor. Jamal stares at the headline for a full minute. He reads the copy twice. The phrase he wrote on a whiteboard at the center and repeated in 3 rooms sits in a bold line under a logo. He hears his own cadence in a mouth that never stepped into his gym. He calls no reporter. He writes no angry thread. He calls Tom Eller, an old friend who runs a small civic paper and does not sell clicks. "You have time to talk?" he asks. "I want to walk you through something." They meet in the center's office with a pot of coffee and a legal pad. Jamal lays out dates and names. He shows the class photos. He shows the whiteboard with the phrase and the date stamp. He shows the policy he put in his own firm. He shows the receipts for the grants he sent to Safe Homes and Caroline. Tom listens. He asks 2 hard questions. "Do you want to fight?" he says. "Or do you want to fix?" "I want to fix," Jamal says. Tom writes a piece that honors the work and points to the lift it sparked. He calls the airline for comment. A spokesperson answers with 2 lines about community partnerships. Tom presses for the source of the phrase and the program outline. Silence. He publishes anyway. His headline reads, "A son wrote house rules." The city listened. The body names the phrase and shows the board with the date. It names the people who did the work in the rooms where cameras were not allowed. It never drags. It never jeers. It holds steady. The airline calls Jamal 2 days later. A director offers an apology for the miss. A check follows with a memo line that reads, "Partnership, not purchase." Jamal accepts and routes the money to the center's program and to Safe Homes and Caroline, not to his pocket. He asks for one more thing. "Send your crews to our class," he says. "Sit in a circle. Listen to elders. Hear sons and daughters." They show up. People sit. People hear. This time the video the airline posts credits the room where the words began. A small plaque goes up in the gym that reads, "House rules started here." The plaque sits low enough for a child to touch. Lorraine stands at the next class with a scarf over her shoulders and says one short line. "Respect is the floor," she says. "If someone refuses to stand on that floor with you, they cannot live in your home." The room hums with soft yes and hum. Madison's feed dwindles to brand deals for tea and small quotes about peace. The book deal vanishes. She vanishes from Jamal's mind, too. He does not hate her. He does not think of her face. He thinks of the day he put a ring in a drawer and turned toward his mother and said, "We will be all right." Darius meets someone gentle and brings her to Sunday supper. She helps Lorraine set the table and asks for the recipe for cornbread. Lorraine grins and says the recipe is in her hands, not on the page. They laugh. Alma finishes her sessions and returns to the pantry without fear. She hums as she lines up jars. She writes a note for Jamal and leaves it on the counter. "Thank you for seeing me," it says. "I see you too." Jamal stands at the center on a Friday night and watches teams run drills on the court. He hears sneakers squeak and a whistle chirp and a chorus of laughter. He feels something settle in him that he did not know had been shaking. He looks across the room and sees the lemon tree through the gym window, small in the distance but bright. He thinks of late nights and early mornings and a mother on tile and a foot raised and a choice he made to stand in the way and then to build something that lasts longer than a fight. He does not clap for himself. He does not pose for a camera. He sits on a folding chair and ties a loose shoelace for a kid in a red hoodie. He says, "Double knot," and the kid grins and runs back to the game. At the end of that night, he walks his mother to the car and opens her door like he did when he was 16. She slides in and pats his hand. You wrote good rules, she says. We wrote them, he says. They drive home. They pass the porch where Mrs. Whitaker waves. They pass the ramp Jamal built. They pull into their driveway and sit for 1 minute with the engine off and the music low and the air sweet. A son came home to harm and chose care. He did not feed a crowd. He built a room. He let neighbors speak. He held lines with kindness. He ended what needed to end. He started what needed to start. He turned a bruise into a handbook. He turned a handbook into a class. He turned a class into a culture. This is how change looks. Small rooms, short lines, steady hands, clear rules, respect as the floor. Stay with echoes of Black struggles. Watch other full videos, and then do one thing in your life that honors what you saw. Subscribe. Share this with someone who needs strength today. Tell us in the comments about a time you drew a line for someone you love and what grew on the safe side of that line. Turn on notifications so you do not miss the next story of dignity, justice, and growth.